Welcome to Flowing with Jenna, friend. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about grief, a big stage which I'm going through in my life. Um, the last 1.5 years, let's just say, but it's more intense now, maybe because I'm at the end of this era. Anyways, I feel like I needed to make this video because we don't talk a lot about grief, and grief is a really important emotion and a really important stage to acceptance. Yeah. So um there are many stages till you finally get to accept things versus denial. um then it's anger or bargaining, then anger, then um sadness, depression, grief, and I guess acceptance. I'm not sure. It goes a little bit like this. Um, the last 2 years, a lot of changes have been happening in my life, and um, and it's scary for the body. And I also had like before almost 2 months a really traumatic trip to Egypt, which I'm going to talk about one day. But I'm still integrating, and I'm still self-reflecting and understanding a lot of the things that went down on this trip. And basically in the last 2 years, and what I'm realizing is that, like, I felt like those 2 years I was grieving. Not that I wasn't, but I feel like now I am actually letting myself to grieve. Now I'm in a more safe place and space. So this is this is easier to happen, grief is easier to happen. And it's more intense, like a lot of intense things coming up, which, even though I have done a lot of shadow work and I've seen really worse things through my shadow work sessions, there are still some emotions which are so intense and so triggering, just so scary, because these are emotions that the body was not ready to feel, or you know um contain, or even you know get relief from. So it's just been kept inside the body for so long. The body, what it's doing is it's just throwing away the toxins. And this happens with a lot of pain in my body, a lot of pain in my chest, a lot of low energy. I'm going to the doctors and they cannot find what I have. Having chest pains, and I feel like it's really important. And I don't know, I'm scared, so I'm just doing some tests, and the doctors, the cardiologists were like, "You're fine. Like, we don't see anything. You shouldn't bother." But I'm going through so much pain right now, in my heart especially, that I feel like I have consumed enough content, and I'm finally ready to speak about my journey. And the reason I made this channel actually was for people to feel welcomed and understood and seen, because in spiritual community, you don't often see um people who speak about grief. Everybody speaks about how they made it and how easy it was, and love attraction, and all those things that are really nice and cool. But I feel, going through this journey almost like 7 years now, this spiritual journey of mine, you need to ground all those things. You need to be grounded enough to be spiritual enough. You need to be like a tree, right? Like a tree has its roots so deep in the ground, right? So no matter what happens up in the leaves and all the other tree, you know, it doesn't bother the base because the base is so grounded, it's so rooted, nothing can happen, right? And it kind of seems to me like, I don't know, because astrology and everything, you know, all those tools like kind of interconnect with each other. It seems to me like Aquarius kind of, you know, like Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus, right? And Uranus is like the sky, it's is up there, and then Saturn is like, you know, like ground yourself, be humble, right? And it seems to me like that, you know. Like if a person is not grounded enough in the reality to understand the reality, what we say the matrix, the 3D world, you can never be spiritual enough. If you have issues with the physical, you know, your spirit is never going to be okay. And this comes from a person that I always believe, you know, spirit is bigger than matter. But matter, this body, this matter is a temple of the body. And if the body is not okay, it means that the soul is not okay. You know, because I really do believe most of the problems we have, 95% of them are spiritual, aka emotional. You know, blockages, traumas, stored things, and like barely 5% is actually physical, right? Like accidents or things that have happened since birth. But other than that, yeah, we, you know, other than that, I really believe most of the things are emotional, and then spiritual, right? But emotional and spiritual, I would say, you know. And what I have noticed through my own journey is that if you're not okay, you know, like either if your soul is sick, your body's going to get sick. If your body is sick, your soul is going to get sick, right? And sometimes you have to be sick in order to understand what you don't pay attention to, right? Like this last year and some, I have been, you know, I have been delayed so freaking much, you know, and it happened for a reason, because I hadn't integrated a lot of the things that I should, and because everything is a lesson in this life. Not everything, you know, some things are experiences and all, but you know, when we get sick and when we get ill, we think, oh, you know, there's something wrong, I have to fix this. But what I realized lately, you know, having a lot of health issues in my physical body, and of course in my spiritual and my soul, and you know, in the emotional body, I realized that, hey, you know, all those things are trying to say, to tell me something, but instead of listening, I just want to fix the fucking problem instead of actually understanding them. And that is like kind of the masculine, right? Which is like logic, you know, let's fix a problem. But sometimes, you know, masculine does not understand, you know, the reason the problem is there. So it just wants to fix it, you know, the quick fix. But as I'm leaning more into my feminine, excuse my cat in the background, as I'm leaning more into the feminine, I'm realizing that there's a lot of meaning and understanding if we actually look deep to the roots and the darkness and all these things that we truly do not like, and we start using our tools of intuition, you know, of any other tool that we actually know, we can kind of connect those dots. We can understand why it happens, you know. And like I was being diagnosed like 1 year, almost 1 year, from now, as insulin resistant, and I felt like that's the worst thing that could have ever freaking happened in my life, you know. for so many reasons. I'm going to speak on another video about it, but it was just so difficult because the sweets for me were the only source of happiness and joy. And someone told me, like, oh, you know, you need to be disciplined about it. You need to be careful about it. You cannot do the same usage as before. And just me thinking that, you know, if I do not, you know, if I do not find a way to solve this and to stabilize this, I may become diabetic. That shifted me. But, you know, insulin resistance was the best thing that ever happened to me because it made me see and realize the truth about people, the intention about people, the you know, like it made me understand so many things that I was actually, you know, I was just letting slide. I was just closing my eyes, and I was just being guided by the illusion that, you know, these are my people and they care about me. But when shit hit the fan, because insulin resistance was not the only thing that happened to me, you know, many changes, many crazy changes happened. And when shit hit the fan, nobody was truly there. So insulin resistance, you know, teaching me and still teaching me how to you know, how to put boundaries, how to be more assertive, how to let my body first grieve and be more in this bitter era, because sometimes you need to be bitter and sometimes you need to feel bitter, because that's validating your body and what has happened to it or what it's going through. And diagnosed sweetness is going to come when there's need, but also a lot of things with fake sweetness, fake people, fake happy, you know, play pretend and all that. And, you know, but it's still teaching me about, you know, like putting boundaries and asking for things and be very careful with my energy. I'm still, you know, I'm still degrading this lesson. I'm still working on this lesson, you know. I am a big believer that with time, because I'm a Saturn rule person, with time things do get better, of course, if we want to and if we intend to. But yeah, like with time things, you know, are becoming more, you know, habits. So they're becoming part of our behavior, you know. But, you know, since then it still may be a little tricky, a little difficult. I'm sorry, excuse the cut. So yeah, a lot of things, but I feel like right now I'm in a space in my life which life kind of have this big pause, this big stop, like things I used to care about and things that I need to care about one summer before, none of that is there, because I kind of like ended with most of the things that I needed to end. And I ended most of the things that I need to end in, you know, like I cleared and I purified a lot of things that I needed. I closed a lot of cycles. So I feel like now, you know, I'm being paused, especially after what happened to Egypt, to my trip in Egypt, and that's weird, that's scary, that's like, oh my gosh. But I'm realizing, you know, there's a lot of things that even, you know, after ayahuasca that I didn't actually truly got to integrate like 100%, maybe 80, maybe 90. But, you know, even after my ayahuasca, which caused a big awakening in my body, in my subconscious, in my everything actually, my intuition, and my third eye and everything, so many traumatic and like this really harsh awakening happened. So many things happened, and still my body was going through a lot of change. I was feeling really dizzy. I was, you know, I was not having a good, and, you know, it was really harsh. And, you know, through so many things that I was in survival or fight or flight for, I didn't quite give time to my body to integrate. So my body, you know, my body now is feeling all the feels, and Like today, for example, this one memory of me and my dad, which I don't have any relationship right now, and even if I did, it wouldn't be good, not even mediocre. um I had this, and I just feel, as I said that, girl, I just feel here pain. um yeah, and I just remember we were sitting for coffee and a sweet, and I don't remember what we said. I really don't. All I remember, and all that our body truly remembers, is the feelings out of it. Is how it felt being with this person, how it felt being in this conversation, how it felt, being in this environment with this person, especially. And I just remember, I don't know, like I just felt this pain in my body, this, this heartache, like, and just so many things happen, and through this grief process, you don't only grieve the people that you have to leave behind or how people treated you, but you grieve a lot of how you let other people treat you, how you let other people, get on with shit that they shouldn't. And I, as I went back, I was like, how did I even let this whole thing happen, this mistreatment happen, right? And there was this more mature version of me saying, like, like, you did what you know. Like, when you have learned all your life to be mistreated, when all you have learned is mistreatment, then that's what you're going to, like, let in your life. That if that's all you know, that's all you know. That it's like what monkey sees monkey do, right? It's like, what they have teach you, you think that is the right thing, so you just let it slide, you just let it happen, but now I just look back and it's like, I didn't deserve that treatment. And the fact that, this person did so many effed up things to me and my sister and my mother, but that's her problem. But even that, as a kid, as a child of two parents, you still grieve that. You still grieve how one of your parents treated the other parent, even if both of them, were wrong. You grieve that because you're like, like, I wish just my parents could be happy, and all that thing that comes with grieving, a divorce, and a really, really bad divorce, and a really bad relationship between your parents and between you and your parents, right? So yeah, grief, a lot of grief. And I just want to say something. Excuse my neurodivergent line. Oh my gosh, what I want to say. Oh, okay, yeah, I remember. And after all this effed up things that he did, he had the freaking nerves to ask me, when he basically just, in so many ways, for so many years, and in our last conversation, he clearly stated that we're not his family. He don't care about us. They don't care about us, like Michael Jackson, right? And it's like, yeah, and I just, the nerves that he had to ever ask me what is wrong, like the nerves of narcissistic parent or narcissistic person to ever ask, like, and it's, I feel like that's still the craziest shit about people like those. Like, how do people like those don't freaking self-reflect? They don't self-criticize, like, like, no, just F the self-criticize, because, like, that's judging. But, like, how do all these people not self-reflect? Like, what are they doing? Like, as an empath, and and as a trained people pleaser and all that, it's like, it's so weird to me when people do not know what they did wrong, because, like, I always know what I did wrong, and I always, I always self-reflect on so many things, and maybe to a point that, as I'm growing up, I'm really realizing that, oh, like, you need to chill really the F down, but some people don't freaking care how they impact you. Like, they go home, they said what they said, the most impulsive thing, because my dad also is an Aries, and they don't freaking care. It's like, whatever, you know, just what I said. They don't know what sorry means. They don't have that word in the dictionary, and that's fucking crazy to me. But it's true. So yeah, grieving, and you hear my sister in the background. But grieving a lot of the mistreatment, the things I let slide, the things I should have never compromised, I should have never accepted, but I never know. But you know, I'm just living this version of me that just did not know better. And it's not only about the fact that, oh, you know, I'm more mature now, I wouldn't let that shit happen, but it's like, it's so sad, because it's like, because when I'm grieving this part of me, it's not like I'm grieving me. It's like I'm grieving a person I know, right? Like a person that's so dear to me. And you know, it's like I'm watching a movie of a really favorite character going through some really wild ride and through some really wild mistreatment and hurt. And it's like, how, you know, like, how can they not see that they're just so sweet and kind and beautiful, and they shouldn't just put up with these people, right? It just it's like that. It's because maybe, you know, I really do realize that when you start healing a lot of your trauma, a lot of your past, it doesn't seem like your past anymore. It feels like, you know, a distant cousin, a distant, you know, like a best friend. You know, when you think about those things, as I'm saying, you know, I'm grieving all this mistreatment that I accepted and I let slide. Is like, as I said, like, I'm not grieving myself. Like, you know, this happened to me, but this happened to a best friend of me, you know, like, to this version of me that I'm no longer, but to this version of me that is so dear to my heart. And it's like, how could I ever let such things slide? But yeah, what I'm understanding is grief, you know, I just want to say this, grief is a tricky feeling, emotion, you know, because one day you're grieving and you're so in pain, and you know, and you may even have panic attacks sometimes, you know. Some emotions are so freaking too much for the body, you know. But the body wants to process it, just wants to throw it the F away, because it no longer can be in the body. It wants to do this big release, right? And it feels so scary. And you know, one day the emotions can be so, you know, so too much and so scary. The other day you can woke up feeling sick, completely empty, you know, and then one day may pass, or 2 days, and you feel better, and then, you know, you may catch another wave, but this wave may be more easy, and you just cry, and you don't have a panic attack, or you don't have a pain in your body, because like it's stored in our bodies, all that, and all these emotions that we never truly got to feel, never got to release, to validate, to, you know, to go through. um they're stuck in our emotional body, you know. And that affects spiritual also. So it's like, you know, there's this easy wave and there's this hard, and it's like, you know, it comes in waves, you know, it comes and it goes, and it's weird, and it's tricky emotion, because it's like, you know, now I feel like I got everything out of my chest, I don't have to cry about anything else, and then this one faded memory just comes out to the surface, and it's like, mother effer, like, no. You know, I thought I had dealt with that, but it's like, no, the body remembers, and the body never truly got to release this one memory. You never got truly to release, not the memories. That's the thing with people. A lot of people in series or in movies, you hear, you know, I wish I could forget, I wish I could delete. There is no such thing. And when people say that you just forget about it, you can never truly do that, because your body is not made to forget things. Your body is made to remember things in order to protect you from danger. And of course, you know, the body remembers the most traumatizing things, and it always try to put self mechanisms in order to protect you from getting hurt again the same way you did. Until you become more emotionally intelligent, open, and ready to release and see all those things and stop all these mechanisms, right? But until then, you're just putting all those mechanisms. But you never truly forget, and and the body is not that grieving apart is not going, you're not going to remember, but it's just going to release all this tension about this event, right? That you never got to release, all this tension, all this hardness, all this hurt around the situation is going to release it. So it no longer, there's no longer tension, there's no longer this memory of tension, there's this memory of this happened, but we were mature enough to deal with it and release it from the body. So now we're cool, now our body is not is not in pain or doesn't feel weird, or the tension as it did before. Yeah, I'm going through it a lot, and it's crazy. The waves are crazy, because like one time you're good, the other time you're not good. One wave is easier than the other, and there's this whole thing of, oh, like I don't know when this stops. Does it ever stop? Because grief can do that to you, and it's like what I said with this one therapist that I really like. But she told me, she reminded me of the fact that, when we were children, we used to cry and we never cared about how much time is going to take, to cry, how much, like we never said there's like, when am I even going to stop crying about it, right? We just learned that as we grew up from our parents, from our environment, from our school, from whatever. And and we deal with that on our everyday basis. We sit there, so like, when are you going to cry? When I'm going to stop crying about it? When I'm going to start grieving? And I do that because there's a lot of grief in my life. I have learned more about depression than joy and happiness, more about disconnection than connection, more about all the opposite things, right? And it's like, and for me, it's like, I'm done. I can no longer do that, God, But then the body is like, you've been through that. At some stages, you grieve some things, but you never truly got to release things from your body emotionally, in the way that you need it to, in the way that your body needs to. And it's like, oh, okay, so, so grief happens, and it's a part of life, but it's terrifying feeling. It's a terrifying thing. It is. But the more you feel it is not terrifying, it's terrifying just realizing that you have to deal with all this pain, because you may not feel ready. But what I have realized through the years, grief happens when the body is ready to release, and in one way or another, you're ready to do it. Everything happens on the right timing, and what took for the body for so many years to of just dropping in and all that, it's going not to take so long to release, right, and grief, but it still needs time and space of safety, and it needs not to just be so pressured and push. When are you going to stop? When when am I going to feel better? And it may be some days really difficult, but what I have learned is going through instead of just trying to pass from the forest is better, because not only it makes you mature, but more stable, ready in this life, wiser. But it also, it also just releases a lot of the things that you no longer need. And when you do that, you start seeing your life changing, And it's crazy, like after my ayahuasca ceremony, I remember writing, like, I'm ready for the changes. I never truly was. But at the same time I was, but at the same time I wasn't. But I really do believe, because I have done a lot of skin shedding, I have went through so many deaths and rebirths. It's all about coming back to yourself. It's all about recognizing who you always were and who you will always be outside of all those factors and things that they teach you. And it's better this way, because at this point you can realize and you can start understanding that, you know, you are going to do what you like, and you're going to do what you love, and you're going to make better choices from now on for yourself, for the best and greatest good, you know. And that is what's happening, you know. When we ask for change, it's like what I say, you know, I asked God for flowers and it gave me rain, you know. And that's because, you know, when you ask for change to happen, you need to change yourself. You need to change the way you see life, the way you see relationships, the way you see jobs or passions or goals or purpose. You need to see, you know, you need to change the way you view yourself. And that can be on all levels: physical, spiritual, emotional, everything, you know. So yeah, a lot of changes, but those changes are for good, because those changes are just only bringing to the surface the real you, when the real you is a more creative one, is everything, you know. After my ayahuasca, I became more creative, and I had blocked this part of me for so long because I was just so scared, and even scared of speaking to this camera. But you know what? Here I am, because it's what Spiritual Memory said, and shout out to her. She has changed her name right now. And I don't remember, because this name is kind of difficult, but shout out to her. You know, it's like we're not meant to consume all the time without giving out to the world, because otherwise we're going to explode. And I really do believe that. The reason I'm doing this channel is not because I just woke up one day and said I just want to be famous or popular or an influencer or YouTuber. I always loved YouTube since a teenager, and I always thought that I will be kind of like a teenager, kind of like a YouTuber, not just put in this title, because I never truly liked that. But I don't know, like I always felt like I'm going to do videos, and here I am. I'm really doing these videos because throughout my life, I'm kind of young, but throughout my life I have went through a lot of shit that I'm learning each day to understand, to interpret the symbolizations behind them. I'm learning every day to, you know, align better with the universe, you know, waiting for the right timing, trusting my intuition, you know. I'm still working on so many things, but I really do believe that a lot of the things that have happened in my life may help some people, you know, because, and here's the thing, here's the catch, you know. I was speaking with this one therapist, right, and she's very well known in so many factors and areas, you know, the symbolization of pains in the body, what happens when, you know, we eat certain foods, and, you know, so many things. And I have worked with very incredible, beautiful people in the spiritual community. But what she said is like, you know, you're so far away from your age, and still I haven't spoken a lot to understand. You know, but as I was speaking with her, it's like, I feel like I'm, you know, like I have surpassed that level. I'm beyond, I'm way beyond, and I'm so young. And sometimes that can feel like, oh my gosh, you know, nobody understands me. I'm so alone. I don't see no one on my level, you know. And when I say on my level, I don't mean like I'm, you know, I'm above you, you're under me, but it's like, it's the resonance, right, that we're talking about, like a radio, right? You know, like two people hearing the same music, they kind of vibrate on the same level, right? And sometimes that's why, you know, some people listening to this kind of music, this genre of music, let's just say rap, and the other person's of rock, and it's like, you know, like, bro, no, I don't like it, because different vibrations, different frequencies, right? And that also has to do with artists, different artists, in the same genre, you know, because you can listen to country and, you know, there's Miranda Lambert, and there's like Maren Morris. I like both of these artists, but both of these artists has like different vibration, you know, what they put to the music, and as a persona, as a character, as a figure, as a being, right? So yeah, and that is one of the reasons I kind of did that, is like I know from my personal journey so many things, and I have Jupiter in retrograde. It would be such a shame not to do that with the world. And after my trip in Egypt, which was really traumatic, you know, I kind of had like a near-death experience. Said after that, I have to speak. I have to share my information. I have to, you know, to give what I have to give. And it's going to help whoever needs it and whoever wants it. So it's kind of like, you know, I kind of always wanted it, but then I never felt good enough. But then it's like I went through so many hard stuff that some people do not talk about, some people do not know, but I know because I went through my own hard stuff. And I have, you know, I have placements in dark houses, you know, like I have done my work, I have done my study. Not that I know everything, nobody knows everything, but it's like, you know, what I know, it may help someone, it may shed some light. So here I am speaking to you. Grieving is a part of life, and it may seem, as I said, like going through waves, easy and hard ones, but you know what, we must look for the bright days, because that's what I'm doing, you know. I still have lost so much of my hope, and sometimes some days I have really lost faith. I'm losing faith, but you know, there's still this me, this self of mine, this version of me that believes that there's beauty beyond of what I have seen. And it's like, you haven't seen beauty, you know, but you're about to. And I just believe, not only believe, but I know that there are better days ahead, and I know that, you know, I'm preparing to let happiness and love into my life, you know, because it's all about, you know, I saw this quote, but I don't remember who said that, but it was like all about, you know, like you don't learn, you know, you don't heal yourself because you're broken, but because you learn how to contain happiness in your life. You know, you learn how to be more happy without sabotaging it, you know, without ruining it. So it's all about that. It's all about this beautiful balance. And I really believe that, you know, after this road, there's something really beautiful ahead. And I really believe that grief is a big part of the unknown. Like, it's like you grieve and shedding, and when does this end? When does this stop? When does this healing? But, you know, you're just doing that, you're just crying is what your body needs. You're just speaking up about it is what your body needs, what your body wants. And, you know, me speaking to this camera is actually healing a big block of speaking up and standing out for myself and telling my story, because for so many years I just kept it inside, thinking, oh, I'm the fighter, I'm the warrior, I can do that, I can forever deal with this in the shadows. And even though I love to work in the shadows, because I have a lot of shadow placements in the 2 dark houses, but no, some things you need to journal about, some things you need to write about, some things you need to express in your art, and some things you have to speak in circles about and videos about, you know, even if no one watching. You know, I feel like I'm doing this for me firstly, and then for the world, you know, because sharing my truth may help someone, as it has done with me when I'm hearing other people speaking their truth, you know. But but I'm also serving this because it's good for me. You know, this blockage around my throat. Like today I was at this taxi, right? As I was going to the cardiologist, and I had anxiousness, right? My heart was beating so fast because, you know, still my body processing a lot of things that happened to this tremendously traumatic trip to Egypt. And you know, and I just wanted to say to this taxi driver, like, if you can just please shut down the radio because it's annoying, you know. But like I was just thinking about saying that so many times that it was just more anxious for me. And I said, you know, like, if you do not say this, you may have like a freaking panic attack at the fucking taxi because you are just keeping shit to yourself. And I was like, that's just a simple thing. Like, people do say things like, you know, can you just shut down the radio or whatever? Because, you know, like, I'm having a headache or whatever. And it's like, why is it just so difficult to say that? And I was like, I don't know, just, you know, because I have learned not to say those things. I've learned to be the nice person, you know. And it's like, it's either you get more anxious, you know, and maybe having a panic attack of this anxiety and this whole thing that is happening with loud noises and going to the city and all that your body and your nervous system really do not like and really do not want. Or you're just saying the simple shit and whatever happens, you know, like, whatever, you know, it's not the fucking end of the world. But for me, it's like, oh my gosh, you know. It's like, both of those things were tremendously terrifying. And that's crazy to think that just saying something really simple is so terrifying on the same level as having a panic attack. Like, what? And I eventually said that, and I was like, it was just so fucking easy. But that's what anxiety does, and that's what the mind does, you know. It's like, it just makes things sound and look like more scarier than they are and terrifying that they are. And just me speaking to a taxi driver and saying like, hey, you know, can you please turn off the radio because it annoys me. I kind of have like a headache, like a light headache or anything, like like, I thought it was just so difficult to the point it made me so freaking anxious. And you know, and I'm like, you know, I'm really noticing myself, you know, a lot of things that I wanted to say to my therapist, but I never did because I was so afraid. And I'm just realizing that there's this things that life is pushing me now to make amends and to deal with. Because like, what do you mean you cannot speak about or just ask for simple things, you know? Why do you feel like you take so much pace? Like, whatever, you know? And I know there's another thing we're going to talk about. I have some things to say, but yeah, just me being here, speaking up to the world. Whoever sees that video, it's crazy, and it may be too much, and it may be, you know, scary. But here I am, because going through what I'm going through right now with this grief, this physical pain, and this anxiety, and all that, it's like, time is ticking. We have no time. And with this near-death experience that I had in Egypt, it's like, time is fucking ticking, you know? Like, we're not going to be here forever, so we should supposed to do something with the time that has been given to us, as Gandalf says, right? So it's like, I'm not on my best life right now. I don't live the best life. I actually at my lowest. But hey, you know, all I can do is just open the camera and just speak, and here I am. I just speak. I don't know everything, and I'm not perfect. My life is not perfect, but here I am. You know, I'm just trying. At least I'm trying. At least I'm trying. And I'm sharing this with you, that I'm trying. I'm grieving. And I'm in pain about a lot of things that have happened to me. A lot of things that I let happen. You know, and that's a tough pill to swallow. I'm in my life right now, and I'm not having the support that I need, that I thought I would have. I don't. And that's itself really scary and painful. But you know what I have? I have this camera. I have myself. You know, I have my cat. I have a sister, which kind of helps. You know, not 100%, but it helps. I have God. You know, I'm 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 trying for the best because when I see myself in my life, I see beautiful things happening, and I don't want to, you know, no matter the hardships, because I have faced death almost 3 times in my life. I don't want to live this life because, like, no, I just want to see the good part because I haven't suffered till now so much. I haven't done so much of this healing, so much of all this shedding and the cycle breaking just for me to live a miserable life. I'm not, you know, like, I'm here to see the good things happen, and they will, you know. But I have to stay not strong. I just have to keep going, you know, because we say stay strong. Sometimes you just can stay strong, and that's one thing also I'm shedding. I have learned most of my life to be strong. You know, I'm a Scorpio sun with Capricorn rising. I have learned most of my life to be strong, mature, responsible, and I'm done with that. I'm done with being strong. I'm done with being the mature one all the freaking time. I'm done with being the responsible one. I'm done with that. I'm done. And I don't like that anymore. I want to be silly. I want to be funny. I want to be irresponsible. Not to a point that is dangerous, okay? But to a point that, you know what, whatever, you know, like, let my child be childlike, you know, like, let myself be childlike, whatever, you know. Like, you don't always have to be so serious. There's balance that we need to have in this life, and I feel like for so long I never truly had this balance. It's like I was so serious and so responsible, so mature, and, you know, like, and now what? Now what, after all this matureness and all this time? Like, now what? You know? Yeah, and I'm just done with being strong, because, like, even a soldier in a war, they just need a pause and need, you know, like, and it's like, do I really want to be where, or just do I have to be? The thing is, I had to be. Aries in the 4th house. All I've learned is a battlefield in the family environment, this power struggle, this war between things. But, you know, I'm just so tired. You know, like, I yes, I learned to be warrior, but do I really want that? Do I really want that? Yes, I am. Like, I know I can be strong, but you know what? I know I also am human freaking being, and I am sensitive, and I am fragile, and I don't know everything, and sometimes I lose faith, and sometimes I lose hope, and sometimes I don't even know how to do it. I don't do it myself a lot of times. I just gain strength from God, from universe, you know, from divine. And yeah, and it's difficult. Sometimes it's real difficult. Sometimes I'm really not strong, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with just going through a phase with no hope, with no nothing, just wishing for something better to happen, but you trying with whatever you can and with whatever you have. And I guess that's enough. That's enough, you know. That's enough. And you're not alone in grieving something. Can be truly terrifying, scary, and painful, but I really do believe there's, after all this rain, there's a beautiful rainbow after. I really do believe that, and, you know, just stay tuned to see, because good days are ahead. I just know. You're about to see. The show is going to pop up and be so tremendously beautiful and magical. You know, you're going to see me speaking about this grief, and then I'm going to pass through this, and you're going to see other results. So if you stick till here, if you listen to here, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I thank you. If you like this energy, if you like me, if you just want to know about my other stories, I would be so happy if you like this video, if you truly liked it, and subscribe to my channel, because, you know, we're going for a ride. we're here to stay, okay? And we're here to be on a journey together. And you know, it's so beautiful. You know, I've seen so many people, you know, since my teenage years, or you know, after that I became an adult, you know, and it's just so beautiful seeing how you know, like my favorite spiritual people, you know, or YouTubers, like whatever, you know, it can be a comedian, how they evolve, but mostly like people who speak about their lives on the internet. I really like to see their glow up, and it's truly magical. So yeah, like I would like to be here with you if you like to be here with me. So yeah, thank you so much. Have a nice day, evening, night, whenever you're watching. Bye bye.